Welcome to Bigfoot Society. If you have Bigfoot activity to report from the same areas discussed in this episode, please reach out to me directly after this episode. And if you'd like to be on the podcast to discuss a personal Bigfoot encounter, please reach out to me directly at bigfootsociety@gmail.com. Do you wish there was more Bigfoot Society to listen to every week? Well, there is now. If you become a supporting member over at Patreon, you get a special members-only episode every single week on Wednesdays, and sometimes even more episodes. Head on over to patreon.com/The Bigfoot Society, and now let's get on with the show. Before we start the episode, I want to take a minute to thank some people that have bought me a coffee over at buymeacoffee.com. That will help with my travel coming up to Canton, Ohio for Monster Fest, and also to Oak Ridge, Oregon for Sasquatch Summerfest. So thank you to Sassy Squatch Co. for buying a coffee. Thank you to Leia's Lair for buying a coffee as well. Thank you to Jack from the west of Ireland for buying 3 coffees. I appreciate that. Thank you to Derek for buying 3 coffees. It says, thanks for all the great content and the effort behind it. Believe me, I know the work that goes into it. Thank you, Derek. And today, someone anonymously bought 10 coffees. Said, aloha, Jeremiah. Thank you for being a sensitive host to your guests, and thank you for your hard work on these interviews. Well, to all of you, I appreciate you so much for buying those coffees. It helps out Bigfoot Society's one-time donation of allowing me to get a coffee while on the road. I appreciate that. You can go to buymeacoffee.com/Bigfoot Society if you would like to help out the podcast by buying me a coffee for a one-time deal. Let's get on with the show. All right, Bigfoot Society, welcome back to another episode of comments and call-ins. We've got 2 weeks of comments to get through. So let's go ahead and go through some of these. Now, I read every comment, and there's some of them that have just amazing accounts in them, and I want to share them, but also I want these people to reach out to me, please. So if I read your comment and I'm saying, hey, reach out to me, how I want you to do that is to email me at bigfootsociety@gmail.com, because I would love to talk to you more about it, potentially interview you for the podcast, at least get more information. So let's continue. All right, first comment we're going to read is from Joseph. This is from the They Saw Bigfoot from an M1 Abrams tank episode. He writes, I'm approximately 30 miles south of Mr. Miller, and I'm learning exactly where a purported family of Sasquatch live less than 2 miles from my house. If you look up Base Camp Chris's episode, it chased his truck. I believe we're dealing with the same creatures, and I'm sure Mr. Miller knows where I am in Avery County, North Carolina, on Haw Mountain, which is situated dead center of the county. I'm going to get with you soon and give you a little bit of interesting information about what I've seen and learned about. You best believe it, these things do exist here, yet I don't believe in them until about 14 years ago. Joseph, I believe that I have gotten some information from you already, and I'll be working through my email this weekend, so please continue to be patient. If you didn't reach out to me, please reach out to me, but I'm pretty sure you did. Maggie writes on the best place to find Bigfoot in Iowa episode. She says, Southeast Minnesota has a lot of activity. It definitely has, especially we can learn that from the John Montoya Midnight Squatchers episode. But I'd love to hear what you've heard, Maggie, so please reach out. Going back to the M1 Abrams tank, we've got a few other interesting comments. Douglas writes, I've seen hundreds of the forest people in Pennsylvania. I'm 62 years old and had my first encounter in 1970. Grizzly wouldn't stand a chance at a full-grown male. Average height of 14 feet. That's why they found the bears with broken necks all over. No comparison. Douglas, I'd love to talk to you about what you've seen in Pennsylvania. Please reach out, my friend. He also writes in response to Melanie, you go, girl. I only do nighttime too. 90% nighttime, but I've seen hundreds of them near me. Camped 5 months with 3 different groups. Visited the same group for 18 months, going daily for 3 to 13 hours. Never a dull moment. I turned many non-believers into knowers in one night, and I even got a hug from one who was a watcher. They told me this through mind speaking, and I can mind speak with them anytime. I've invited them, and they've accepted. They came about 14 miles and harvested all the berries that were ready. 4 kinds of berries. They left me 3 blueberries and a little spot to let me know it's them. And they once pushed over 3 trees after asking them to confirm they knew where I moved to. They once returned a camera I'd lost 3 days looking, and I got a voice in my head saying they had it. So cool. Doug, definitely reach out. Admira writes on the same episode, Des Moines area. It was Kunbo Baker who mentioned he and his group researched in the Des Moines area near a river. Again, I figured it was Saylorville Lake or the Raccoon River around Valley Junction because those areas were pretty wooded when I lived there. If anyone knows how to reach out to Kunbo Baker, I would love to talk to him on the podcast about his Iowa expeditions with Bigfoot, and I think Dogman too. So if you have the ability to reach out to Kunbo, please do it for me. I don't have a way of really contacting him. And have him reach bigfootsociety@gmail.com if he's interested in chatting in the show. Friend of the podcast, Mishroom, says, I just joined Patreon for you around a week ago. For you, Jeremiah, you have such a passion and great content. I've been watching for a long time. Hope to continue for longer. Appreciate that, Mishroom. I did see that you joined the Patreon. Guys, there's a few ways to support the podcast if you'd like to help us continue to grow. And you are able to get extra content by doing that. And you can go to patreon.com/the Bigfoot Society, or you can become a YouTube channel member by clicking the join button on this channel. Going over to the grizzly bear, something keeps snapping grizzly bear necks in Paradise Valley. User writes, good old Coos County holds more than many know. I've lived and hunted there for many years, 1986 through 1994. And I've always known about our elusive friends. Used to go hang out with friends who lived up the river and explore and experience many things. And like always, respect everything and it will leave you alone majority of the time. User, if you have any stories about encountering Bigfoot, would love to hear about that. There's a comment that came in on the M1 Abrams tank episode. User Bold says, Samurai jibber jabber around 50, 100 feet from my tent, homestead twice, but spaced 2 weeks apart. This is about 2008, 2009, Russian River in NorCal. Would love to talk to you about that, sir. In episode 438, which was we couldn't get the truck started, Emily says, are there any in Clayton, Georgia? It's northeast in the Blue Ridge Mountains. I'm moving there soon. Just because of where it is, I'm sure that there have been sightings there over the years. Listeners, if you know of any Bigfoot sightings in Clayton, Georgia area, go ahead and put those in the comments. Let's see if we can get Emily some information. The police officer from Northwest Pennsylvania, Matt Arner episode, this is very, very popular these last few days. User Luke says, I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. My folks had 30 acres of property in Bedford, PA, West St. Clair Township to be exact. Lots of interaction on our property. Found out years later my dad had been hunting, etc. in this area since the early 40s and had encounters at his uncle's cabin about 10 miles from our camp. Luke, I would love to interview you about all the different interactions that have happened on those properties over the years. Please reach out to me, bigfootsociety@gmail.com. We've got a nice encounter from episode 440. River Green 7 says, hello from BC, Canada. Starting to love this channel. I appreciate that. It's a nice comment, my friend. Also from the police officer episode, we've got Robert. User says, from central Pennsylvania, I've seen a Bigfoot 3 times and heard a lot of strange sounds. Helen says, WCPA in Elk County. Robert replies, Clearfield County. And seen one top of Rockton and 2 top 2 down at Gallows Harbor. Robert and Helen, please both reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you about what you've experienced in Pennsylvania. I've got user Woken, and this is on an older episode. Episode 328. This is a Dallas County, Iowa sighting episode. Woken says there's still oddities in that area. Now, Woken, I would really love to talk to you about what are the oddities that are happening still in Dallas County, Iowa, since that's my neck of the woods, more or less. So please reach out to me. In the Marie Dumont episode, number 441, it's down in Florida, David writes, I've lived in West Central Florida for 66 years. I've been an avid hunter and fisherman in the Green Swamp, Withlacoochee State Forest, Colt Creek State Park, Upper Hillsborough Wildlife Management Area, and Hillsborough State Park. So far, my only experience happened in the Green Swamp while hunting. Something escorted me out of the woods late one evening. I actually got nervous, but whatever it was had heavy footfalls. Whatever it was had a heavy footfalls. I'm not surprised at all, David, from what my friends have told me about that area. From episode 381, the Fannin County, Georgia episode, user MD writes, I live in the same county as a speaker, can attest to strange going-ons in rural areas. There's a section of woods near National Forest that has had trees snapped in half 8 to 10 feet up the trunk. Happens approximately 1 to 2 times each year. Same general area. I don't share the exact location. We have indigenous ancestry. My parents have a carved petroglyph rock on their property. Seen red eyes at night watching me from the side yard, and I felt it before I saw it. Seen white translucent things moving around early morning. I'm an empath that runs through some woman on the indigenous side of my family. Would be fun to have coffee with the speaker sometime. Chances are we're around the corner from one another. Thanks for sharing this. I personally think Sasquatch may be related to ancient moon-eyed people who lived in this region approximately 1,200 years ago. MD, if you want to share, if you have more specific things that happen in the future about Sasquatch interactions on that property, please reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you. A few others on the Marie Dumont episode. User Lowell says, hey, Marie, sounding great. Hope all is well. Jeremiah, I need to get in touch with you. I've commented on one of your Georgia shows about encounters we've had on film in those areas, but I live in Central Florida, and that is where our encounters in this whole journey for me started. I have 3 episodes of a docuseries filmed so far, and we'll be putting it out in the near future. But I'd love to speak with you about the experiences we've had. Love the channel, man. Keep up the good work, and look for my email. I'll be checking my email soon. I hope to have an email from you, friend. I'll keep an eye out for it. If you don't get a response in a few days, please reach out again. On the same episode, Marie Dumont, the NOV says chameleons cannot change colors to match their environment. They change colors based on their mood and temperature, and that's only colors that their DNA gives them. That's interesting. I'm not sure if it's true or not. Guys, let me know in the comments if that's true. I'm not a science guy. I'm not a biologist guy, I guess. I'm not Justin from Cryptids of the Corn. Back to the police officer from Northwest Pennsylvania, Matt Arner. User Mike says, Northeast Pennsylvania resident, and I worked in the woods for a decade and have heard strange things in the woods, but haven't seen anything. But my father saw one in Goldsboro, PA, in a place called Pocono Ranches. There are no streetlights, and you're literally on top of a mountain. He thought someone was walking and ducked under a branch and crossed the road. He said he didn't see it with his headlights. It walked up beside him and didn't think of much of it until the following afternoon when he returned home and stopped at the same spot and looked and realized that the branch that whatever was walking and ducked under was about 13 feet tall. He's a truck driver and compared it to the height of the cab of his tractor trailer. Now, my dad's not a believer and not someone who makes things up or tells story. He was a matter of fact when he told me about it. That I have no reason to doubt that it's true, and that's there's a really creepy feeling on top of that mountain at night. I would love to go and try to see it for myself, but I feel like if you set out with the mindset that you're going to find and see one, chances are that you'll never see one. That's very interesting. Listeners, let me know in the comments on YouTube if you agree with the statement that if you set out with the mindset that you're going to find and see one, chances are that you'll never see one. On the Marie Dumont episode, user Kathleen writes, "Thank you for your dedication to our skunk ape brothers and sisters. I've had several experiences in every state that I've lived in: Washington, Oregon, California, Maine, Alaska, Nevada, and New Hampshire. My first memory in Alaska, age 3 or 4, is of a Sasquatch eating cherries from my backyard. I was running out to get a hug when my father caught me and slammed the door in my face. He was huge and brownish red. We made eye contact and it felt familiar to me, even at that young age for some reason. I've had hypnotherapy and it became totally clear. They've always been in my life. I've recently found a place to commune with them in a small preserve in Brooksville area, by the way. God bless you both, and please keep up the good work." Kathleen, I'd love to hear more about what you've experienced. Please feel free to reach out. One of my favorite episodes, number 353, which is, I believe that's Randy's episode from Van Buren County, Tennessee. TN Trail Rider writes, "I'm very East Tennessee and I've had some activity while fishing about 3 or 4 miles from the North Carolina state line. I would love to hear more about that. If you would like to reach out to me, I'd love to talk to you." Free Carry Doc has put some really interesting comments on Smoky Mountain, Tennessee episode with Harley, and I've gotten a few emails. I'm going to be responding back soon, sir. So thank you for your patience. His comments, some of them I'd like to share here. "I've heard the same thing here in the Ozarks. Anyone want to talk to me? Anyone want to talk, give me a message. Retired Army, and I have videos, pictures, and footprints. My dog Jake just raised his head while I played the vocals. We live like this daily. So I'll be in touch soon, sir, for sure." Back to the Pony, Montana episode. The Keith writes, "I'm from Oregon. There are plenty of anecdotes of Sasquatch sightings in Southwest Oregon. Some people swear by it. Keith, I'd love to talk to you about what anecdotes you know. Please reach out, sir." On the Marie Dumont episode, user Pamela writes, "Hi, I live in Ohio now and I go home for the winter. I travel in my RV. I'm from the Fort Walton Beach area. I have a sister in Milton, so I go there now and boondock at a local park. I've had some interesting things happen there too. My first experience with Sasquatch, well, I think it was a Sasquatch, was on the Eglin Air Force Base reservation area, which is now closed to the public. But in 1978, you could drive down the red clay roads and explore parts of the forest. We used to go in there and practice shooting Coke cans, and it was a huge area that had giant pine trees and palm fronds, just like in the picture of the Mayaca Bigfoot. Well, me and a friend decided to take a ride out there one night, because that's what you did back then in a small military beach town when there's nothing else to do. I'd say it was about 8 o'clock. We drove around for a while and decided we would head home. By this time, it was so dark in there, and on our way out, my friend drove right into a ditch. It wasn't going anywhere. We were stuck. No cell phones back then. We were about a couple miles in, so I thought I could walk to the main road and get help, and I think it was around 11 o'clock by then. What was I thinking? I was 17, so I got out of the truck and started walking down the road. My friend was following me about 10 feet behind, and you couldn't see any stars or any moonlight. The pine trees were so tall and blocked out any light, if there was any. And I didn't get too far when something ran across the road about 8 feet in front of me, stopped me in my tracks so fast I froze. As dark as it was, I saw it. The road was wide enough for 2 cars to pass each other. I saw a white mist or fog about 12 foot high leap across the road in one swoop, no sound, and just disappeared into the woods. I turned around so fast and passed my friend on the way back to the truck. He followed me, and we got back in the truck, slammed the doors, and locked them so fast I got on the floor of the truck and covered my head with a sweatshirt. I didn't move from there until the morning. Another truck came back and got us out of the ditch. My friend said he didn't see anything. I've wondered what it was since. I'm 65 now. I'm thinking it was a swatch that was cloaked, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Pamela, thank you for sharing that. Back on the Pony Montana episode, E-Bike Outlaw shares, had an unknown encounter near Rutland, Iowa. The geography was a limestone quarry next to the west fork of the Des Moines River. The river had breached the quarry, creating a 30-foot or so gap, and I was on the west side of the breach fishing. I started hearing a real ruckus on the other side of the gap. The brush was too thick to see through it all. There's no wild hogs in the area. That really leaves only human or deer as the only option to explain the insane loud noise in the brush. And that's how I chalked it up. Then out of nowhere, a near crippling fear overtook me. I was somehow able to make my feet walk me over to the car where I grabbed 12 gauge. As I stood there, armed enough to address any threat that might exist on the other side of the gap, I knew I was safe in theory. Nothing on the other side could clear that gap without feeling the full wrath. I had all the advantage, I was armed and had geography on my side, yet the fear only intensified. I couldn't see anything and the fear was so overwhelming, I finally fled. Wow. I finally fled, and I didn't flee, and I don't flee. I have military experience, plus I've been shot at before. I discovered I'm calm under fire, so this fear combined with all advantage I had was so illogical and uncharacteristic of me. I still remember like it was yesterday. I don't know what it was or why I was about to urinate down my leg. I'll always wonder what really happened that day. E-bike, that's interesting. I believe that area in Rutland is kind of close to Humboldt, Iowa, which there was a huge Bigfoot sighting outbreak in the late 70s up in Humboldt, if that's the same area that I'm thinking of. Going back to the police officer Pennsylvania episode, James writes, I had an experience in the late 90s in Bradford County. My grandparents had property on Schaefer's Notch Road, had a couple over the years. James, please reach out via email. I'd love to talk to you more about that. On number 434, Comments and Call-ins, it's an Oak Ridge episode. Stephen writes, yes, sir, for sure, upstate South Carolina, Chattooga River area is occupied for sure. Found matching set of 16-inch tracks near the Chattanooga 2 days ago. Stephen, please reach out. Let me know what you've experienced in this area extremely recently. Bonita has a nice comment. Thank you, Bonita. Jeremiah has the best voice on YouTube. Channel is great as well. Appreciate you, my friend. Here's a fun one. Not Bigfoot related, but it's from the Hood River, Oregon episode 343. Meredith says, I saw a black hyena in Spokane. I was going to mention it on the show, but I deviated to Oklahoma. I can describe it to a T. Reach out. I'd love to hear about it. Sounds like we've talked before. On Martin Groves' episode, Dana says, I love listening to Martin Groves. He's truthful about his and Harry's horrific encounter, terrifying encounter, and such a nice gentleman as well. From 365, Summersville Lake episode in West Virginia. Dana writes, I'm originally from Oak Hill, West Virginia. I had a face-to-face in 2018 in Pocahontas County camping. Love to hear more about that, Dana, if you'd like to reach out. On 257, which is another police officer episode, user writes, Washington, pretty much the same experience, more than once. Please reach out to me, friend. I'd love to hear more about what you experienced. And back to the Pony Montana grizzly bear episode. User Ann's writes, I had Bigfoot encounters in California north of Crescent City off of Highway 199 at Patrick's Point and outside Placerville, California. I forgot where exactly. So terrifying and unreal that I kind of blocked it out for years. Nobody to really talk to about these things that you almost disbelieve your own experience. Unfortunately, there's no way to explain it away. For the longest time, I tell myself that the violent ones only live up in Canada. Now I'm not so sure. Friend, you're more than welcome to reach out to me if you'd like to chat about what you experienced. On the Pennsylvania police officer episode, DKY writes, "They are real, all right. I was not a believer until recently when I saw one in our yard. We are surrounded by woods. My garden has been trampled for about a month since the veggies started coming in. I couldn't understand what animal it was. Then one day I was doing laundry and just stood up, folding clothes, and just happened to look out the deck door. And there it was, just standing there in the sun. The face is what got me. Almost human, but not. Didn't look mean. Was it like stretching and soaking up the warmth of the sun in the morning? I ran, grabbed my phone and my pistol. Didn't want to shoot anything, but when you see something that big you have never seen before and you're out on a country road by yourself, you keep a weapon laying around. By the time I grabbed them both, couldn't see it anymore. Still left tracks in a weird stick hut in the woods, along with a huge pile of deer bones, all in one neat pile. I had others go with me in the woods later on to look around once I got my nerve up after that. This happened between Greenbrier and Springfield, Tennessee, close to Edgar Dillard Road in the hills and woods there. DKY, I'd love to talk to you, especially about what you noticed when you saw the creature. Please reach out to me." Back to the grizzly bear episode, Diane writes, "I've heard other stories of Bigfoot doing a spider crawl close to the ground to sneak up on someone or something they're hunting. I've heard a few as well. And listeners, if you have if you have a time where you've seen a Bigfoot do a spider crawl, or you know an encounter, you've heard an encounter for someone else that you've been told, please reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you about that. We've only gotten to talk about that a few times on the podcast. On the Pennsylvania police officer situated says, "I've scoured Cook Forest for sign. I've seen high tree bends along the Camp and Corduroy trails, but nothing along Tom's Run Trail Road yet." Here's a really interesting one that comes from user Jimmy on the Pennsylvania police officer episode. "Hey all, so I live in Pennsylvania near the Pocono Mountains. As a child, I attended Camp Mincy Boy Scout Camp and worked as a staff in my late teens, early 20s. The camp used to be Native American land, and to this day there are native burial mounds still on the camp's property. The camp sits on 1,200 plus acres of land and boasts a man-made lake. The camp was named after the Mincy tribe of the Lenni Lenape, and the camp was founded in 1949. As a camper, the staff always tells ghost stories of the property on Monday nights of every week when new campers arrive, as they have a huge fire and meet the other troops attending the camp for the week. As a camper, this story always intrigued me, but I always chalked it up to the stuff just trying to scare the kids. It wasn't until I was older and working as staff that I became aware just how real this story is. And I can't remember the specific year it happened, and I've tried to contact people I used to work with there and do research, but I cannot find anything. Maybe your team with more resources can find info. Here's the story they tell. One night, the staff was awoken by a very loud, blood-curdling scream. Oh boy. Blood-curdling scream that echoed through the camp. The staff thought a camper had snuck out to the lake and fallen in the water. They rushed to the lake to find no one and nothing there. This lake in particular is man-made and surrounded by sand. The staff searched the banks and even launched a few canoes, but found nothing. Puzzled, they started searching the banks for footprints to see if anyone was actually down there, and what they found shocked them. Giant human-shaped footprints were left in the sand leading out of the water. The local authorities were called and casts of the footprints were taken. Again, I always thought this was just a ghost story to scare campers until October 2011. I'm sitting at a friend's house with my younger brother, who is also a Boy Scout and staff at the camp. We're eating candy watching Unsolved Mysteries when an episode called The Camp Mincy Bigfoot popped up on the TV, and I almost spit out the Reese's I was eating. Me and my brother both looked at each other shocked, thinking, wait, this is real? As we watched, Unsolved Mysteries told this exact same story the staff at camp did. That following summer, when me and my brother went back to work at the camp, we both went to the ranger station located on site and asked to see the casting of the footprint. The ranger was pleased to talk about it and showed us the cast. I've tried so hard to find this Unsolved Mysteries episode since it aired on TV, and I've had no No success. As for the cast, I 100% believe it's real. The camp does not advertise they have it, and I would be willing to bet that they try to keep it that way. Only telling the ghost story of what happened to campers, knowing most won't believe. That's incredible. Listeners, if you know how to find this episode of Unsolved Mysteries, please put it in the comments. Even put a link in the comments as well if you can. Here's a fun one that came in from Hayden on the William Morris episode. I live in Myrtle Creek. I used to live on Bilger Creek Road, about a mile past his second encounter. I've had 2 experiences in this area. Pretty crazy, lots of Bigfoot sightings around this small town. Hayden, it sounds like you've got information, and I would love to talk to you about it. Please reach out to me, bigfootsociety@gmail.com. Let's go over to episode 443, Salt Fork State Park. Jimmy writes, as a kid and teenager, I've camped there more than you can imagine. My father and uncles used to love camping there because of the great crappies fishing. Uncle Bill had a big houseboat we'd fish off of, and we'd go there 5 to 6 times every summer and a couple times in the fall. My father and his brother were all auto body men who worked hard at their business and really went for it come time off. Anyway, for my dad, the Strohs is running. Just think beer, fishing, and needing to go. All right. Anyway, much different times after 10 o'clock in the evening, we'd hear the weirdest screams and hollers so much they'd tell the rangers about it the next day, and they'd say, yeah, we hear about that all the time. And that was that. Sometimes we'd swear it was a woman. The sound was super creepy. That's interesting. Listeners, if you've heard things like that around Salt Fork State Park in Ohio, please let me know in the comments of this episode. Back to the Pony Montana grizzly bear episode. Corsair writes, the sound of the roar that the second guy was talking about, I've heard that. We were camping on the Uncompahgre Plateau in western Colorado, where Divide Road and Nucula Norwood Road intersect in 2010. I can't quite remember now, but about 1:30 in the morning, I heard this blood-curdling roar scream. It woke me up. I walked out of my tent with my 44, looked all through the woods with my LED flashlight that's super bright. Didn't see anything. It was a thick tangle of woods. It was a thick tangle of down aspens. Oh my goodness. Thick tangle of down aspens. There's no way a person would go out there and pull a prank. Besides, there was no other people camping except us, and it wasn't a bull, it wasn't a cow, it wasn't a mountain lion. I did hear the same sound that I heard in a YouTube video of a guy out in the woods picking mushrooms. Okay, so here's the thing about that video. That sound was made by my friend Matthew Knapp from Bigfoot Crossroads, and if you listen to the interview I did with him, that sound was stolen from a podcast he did way, way, way back, and that sound has been used in documentaries, other videos, YouTube, TikTok. And unfortunately, it's not really a Bigfoot. It's just Matt doing an impression of what he heard. So that's not to say that you didn't experience something, but that particular YouTube video is fake because it's using Matt Knapp's sound. So it's not really someone that heard it. Here's a really interesting anecdote on episode 445, which is undisclosed Iowa. Undisclosed location in Iowa. Damien writes, had a huge live walnut tree fall behind us on a trail in a very rural west central Iowa just 3 weeks ago. It was in the middle of the afternoon on a completely calm, sunny day. Before it happened, I had the feeling we were watched. It was weird. I can't prove it, but I just have the feeling the tree didn't fall on its own. Would love to know how close this encounter was to where we were. Damien, I'd love to talk to you about where you were when you experienced that. Please reach out to me, bigfootsociety@gmail.com. We have a user, Ross, on last call-in episode. Ross writes, first-time viewer to this channel. Bigfoot is real. Had a couple strange things happen. Can't explain. Ross, feel free to reach out to me if you want to talk to me about what happened. Melanie writes a nice response. Melanie says, you're going to be hooked. Jeremiah has so much class. Welcome to our world, friend. Thank you, Melanie. It was a pleasure talking to you the other night. That episode will be coming out in the next few weeks. Here's a really interesting anecdote comment that comes in from user Steven on the Midnight Squatchers episode. That was pretty recent. I'm from Santa Cruz, also 1502. I'm not going to read this guy's address. Yeah, sorry, I'm not going to do that. I'm from Santa Cruz also. I've had a few Sasquatch experiences in those beautiful. Have you ever heard of the Bonnie Doon monster? He was recorded making that howl sound, among others. My friend Aaron's dad recorded it several times in the 1970s. The creature was famous for running all over Bonnie Doon, screaming, and would run around people's homes for hours. People kept their kids inside at night when he or she were roaming. No dead animals were ever found, and dogs did not seem to be overly terrified of it, no cowering under the bed and such. Nobody ever actually seen it, or at least claimed to anyways. And I always figured Aaron's dad seen it because anytime the thing was around, he was outside recording and trying to chase it down on a Bonanza mini bike. On Highway 9 between Santa Cruz and Felton, there's a spot along the river that people like to swim and party called Rincon Rock. You parked up on the turnout on Highway 9 and walked down a wide trail downhill about half a mile, and you reached the hole. One summer, some hippie kids and a church family from one of the Christian resorts that walked into the sheriff's office claiming to see a Bigfoot that had to be 9 feet tall. The hippie kids and the Christian family verified each other's stories. They all claimed it never made a sound, only threw bowling ball-sized rocks into the water from the forested side, and they said they saw the rocks fly at the trees. 3 in total, then the whole mountainside seemed like it was having an earthquake coming right toward them. But it came to a sudden stop right behind one of the boulders on the riverbank and then roared. The people were already headed up the trail to the parking area by this time, and the creature jumped into the hole, which is about 5 feet deep, and most of its body was still dry. None of them stared at it long enough to remember any facial features. They just said it was covered in short blackish hair with reddish ends, long arms, and huge hands. The Bigfoot did not chase them up the hill, but let out a big roar. A couple of people peed their pants, and the little girl of the Christian family passed out. Rincon Rock was closed the rest of the summer. Channel 11 in San Jose ran a small spot on it the next night on their nightly newscast. But the Santa Cruz Sentinel, the local newspaper, wouldn't touch it. Wow, that's incredible. If anyone else has any information about sightings in that time frame or from that actual anecdote, please put it in the comments, please. From the Midnight Squatchers episode, River Morris writes, Cooey, brother, I'm a tribal elder from down under. I've had 8 encounters with our Gindaring Dulagarl, plus our little hairy fellas. I've spoken in my lingo with them, but they're gibberish I can't understand, but they know my tribal language. I know them. I've spent time with them. River, sounds like you have some really interesting things you've experienced. If you'd like to reach out, feel free to do so, please. From episode 366, which is an Oak Ridge, Oregon episode, Jackie says, the Jasper sighting is in my backyard, so to speak. If you have any info about stuff that's happened around there, please reach out. There are a lot of really interesting comments that came in on episode 447, which was when I shared, I had Lauren interview me about what happened to myself and my son about a weekend ago. And you'll have to listen to that episode if you haven't heard it. I'm not going to retell what happened here. It was some pretty rough stuff that happened. I'm still processing it. Rocky Toppin writes, that was almost fantastic, right up until it's so rare to see something like that in the daytime. We need an update on what that meant. So I did ask him what that meant, what it means when it's so rare to see something like that in the daytime. What he said was there's no reason that you would see things like that when you're not tired. And I asked him, have you seen things like that when you were tired? No. And he says, no, but I think that some people see things like that when they're tired. That's interesting. I mean, logically, in that, I can see how that makes sense. But yeah, maybe more to come on that. Dragon Mom writes, thank you so much for sharing your encounter with us, Jeremiah. That was insane. I'm glad you and your son were not hurt. I'm looking forward to how you and your son process this and how it affects your research from here on out. It will greatly affect my research from here on out. I'll take it very serious now. Brian, fascinating, Jeremiah. Have your kid draw what he saw. I did do that. I'll be posting it in the Patreon and for YouTube channel members. That because I just don't really want certain things out there everywhere. On the Mackenzie River episode that came out actually Friday, Alicia writes, Eugene, Oregon girl here. Thank you for sharing your story. My guy had an experience up the Mackenzie River. He also walked into a bubble. His screams couldn't be heard from his friend at camp just 20 feet away. Wow. That's intense. If he ever wants to talk about it, please have him reach out. Nice comment from user Vulgar. Came in on episode 434. There's a lot of Bigfoot podcasts, but you're in my top 3. Keep on doing what you're doing. I will, and I'll keep trying to improve. Thank you. Last comment is from Jackie again. Mackenzie River episode today. My first inconclusive sighting in the late 80s was in this general area. Jackie, please reach out. I would love to talk to you about what you've experienced over the years in the Oregon area. At this time, we're going to go ahead and share some of the interesting calls that came in from my live call-in show last Saturday night. Hope you enjoy them. If you would like to call in yourself, if you have a Bigfoot encounter that happened to you that you'd like to experience, please make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel and that you're watching live Saturday night, 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So if you're watching this on the day it came out, there's a live show tonight. All right, let's get at it. We're up to 64 people. Tate, last chance. If you wanted to call in and talk about some stuff, this is the time to do it. Dude, just call my normal number. I'll just call you directly. How about that? Here we go. Here we go. Okay, let me know real quick if you can hear Tate.
I can hear you.
Okay. Good. Let me make sure to see.
Is everybody?
Yeah, I'm waiting to see if someone can hear you on the other side real quick. We're going to give it a minute. Loud and clear. We'll good.
Do it.
All right, Tate.
Oh.
Tate, good old Tate Hieronymus. You reached out and you were like, dude, I want to do a little update. And I said, I want you to do an update. Let's go for it, man. What's going on?
Yeah. I do an update. Yeah, so I didn't post a video this past month, which was May. But now I got couple commentary episodes I'm going to be posting for the Sabe series, and I literally just shot one this past month in May with RPG, my good buddy Ron Reed of Trailing Giants, myself. We were out there in the Everglades of South Florida doing some filming out there, so I got that currently being edited. So I'm pretty excited about that. So, yeah, I just really wanted to update everybody about that and let your listeners know.
That's awesome.
I have new content coming out.
That is great, guys. If you are not subscribed to Tate's channel, make sure you are. He puts out some solid info, solid documentary episodes, and Sasquatch: A Search for Sabe is a great documentary series. If you haven't seen the Iowa episodes, I recommend it because I'm in them.
Jeremiah loves talking about how he's in my
dude.
series.
I do. But I'm glad to talk to you. We just talked earlier. There's some wild stuff going on, but we'll talk about that more later. But
yeah. Tell me what happened in Iowa. So, as you said, you're gonna spill the beans on that later.
Eventually, yeah, and eventually, Tate, We'll get there. We'll get there. But yeah, it was wild.
I was implying eventually.
Oh, yeah.
But one thing I'll say before I finish updating is I don't know if I'm going to make an episode out of it or not, but I do plan on returning to the Ocala Bigfoot Conference this month.
Okay.
Which is, I want to say June 8th. It's a Saturday. So this coming Saturday, I'll be in Ocala at the Ocala Bigfoot Conference. So if any listeners are on here and you're in Florida, try and find me. I'll be out there hanging out with some good friends of mine.
That is fantastic. People should definitely track you down. I'm glad that we were able to chat for a few minutes, but Tate, I gotta get moving. We got people that are raring to go. I went ahead and put your YouTube channel in the comments or in the live chat so people can check that out. But thanks for chatting tonight, buddy.
Good stuff. I'll join and listen to the rest of the episode as long as I can.
All right. Thanks, man. Talk to you later.
All right, later.
Okay. We've got an Oregon call. I'm going to call this guy back real quick. Let's go for it. And as always, in the live chat, if you can let me know if you hear the individual as soon as possible, then we can get going.
Hello?
Hi, this is Jeremiah.
Hey, Jeremiah, how you doing?
I'm doing great. You had called earlier, right, sir?
Yes, sir. I left a message.
Perfect. And I assume since you have the phone number, you'd done the form at an earlier time?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. And what's your name, sir? Mark?
My name is Mark.
Awesome. Well, Mark,
You need my last name?
No, we'll just keep it at Mark, but I appreciate that. So I was skimming through your voicemail, and it's very interesting. And I'm going to go ahead and give the reins over to you, Mark, and feel free to share what we've got going on. All I ask is that we keep the calls as clean language as we can, since it is live. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, I do that. Yeah, no problem there at all. Okay.
Go right ahead, sir.
All right. Yeah, my name is Mark, and I'm from Oregon, Florence, Oregon. And I've been in Oregon now for 12 years, and I'm originally from Ohio. Matter of fact, right down in Zanesville, Ohio, where Salt Fork is, state park where the Grassman is. I had an encounter there. I didn't really see him there, but I knew he was there, and me and my girlfriend went camping, and it was in the end of October. And in October, we have Indian summer there, and it was a very nice weekend. So we decided we'd stay over one more night. Well, everybody left. It was a Sunday, and everybody left. I mean, there was not one person in this whole park except me and her. Well, I'll make it real quick. We went down to take a shower, and when we pulled in, it didn't feel right. Something was just not right. So she got out of the vehicle, and she went in. She was taking her, her shower, and you could hear her in there singing, and I thought, well, it's just me. It's my imagination. And so I said, all right. Well, I went in and take my shower, and there's windows up, and they're like 7-8 foot up, these vinyl windows. And I don't know. It just felt like something was watching me the whole time. I just could not shake this feeling. I mean, it was kind of scary. And so I went back out and walked the whole perimeter of it and just looked around to see if somebody was there. It was weird. So I had my dog with me. He was a wolf hybrid, and named Dakota, and he was this dog was the best dog. I just can't tell you. I mean, man's companion. Well, anyway, I got him out of the truck and I took him into the restroom with me because, I mean, I just couldn't get this feeling off of me. So I brought him in the bathroom and I said, "Now you just lay down there." Well, he couldn't get comfortable. He was just looking around and I could tell something was bothering this dog. So I got in the shower and I'll tell you how bad it was. I didn't even close the curtain in the shower when I was taking my shower. You know, it was that bad. It was that intense. So I got done, you know, I take the dog out, you know, and I throw him back up in the truck and I'm sitting there waiting on my girlfriend to get done in the shower and, you know, and out she comes out of the shower, you know, and I wasn't going to say anything to her because I didn't want her to be scared, you know, and, I was like, no, I'm not going to say a word. I'm just going to just go back to camp. Just, you know, it's all in my head. That's what I kept saying to myself. It's on your head, Mark. It's on your head. So we go back and we make our dinner and, you know, sat around the campfire for a little bit, drank a couple drinks and, you know, said, okay. Well, we had an old Coleman tent. I don't know if you'll remember them, but they were round and they had the pole that went up in the center. And it's about, 7 foot tall, maybe a little bit taller than that. I could stand up in it, you know, no problem, loop my arms around, you know. And, I mean, it's really tall. So I got everything in the tent, you know. I packed all the food up in the truck and, you know, went in the tent, laid there. And I had my pistol with me. I always take it because bears and, you know, whatever, varmints. Or you don't know, you know, anymore about people. So I put the gun down next to me. Well, I had the Coleman lantern next to me, so it was right next to the edge of the tent, so I shut it off, you know. Well, we're laying there, and I hear something walking up this hill. I mean, it was a big hill, too, went right down to the lake. And I'm like, well, that's a person walking. And my girlfriend's like, no, it's a deer. No, that's something walking up this hill coming toward us. Well, it got closer and closer and closer. And my dog was his hair was up on the back of just standing right up on the back of his neck. And I'm like, there's something out there. But I told him, you lay down, you know, just chill out, lay down right there. Well, you know, we're laying there for a minute, and all of a sudden you could hear it come up to the top where our tent was, right next to it. And you could hear it breathe, exhale, and you could tell whatever it was huge, okay? And I'm like, shh, be quiet, shh. And my girlfriend was almost in tears. She was so scared, you know? And I said, shh, just be cool, you know? Well, next thing we know, something had grabbed the center of that tent, and that tent's 7.5 foot tall. Grabbed the center of that tent and shook it, just shook it. And I swear to God, it only lasted maybe 20 seconds, but it felt like 2 hours. And the Coleman lantern hit me in the side of the head. It was hot still, you know. I just shut it off. So I grabbed my pistol and I said, I got a pistol. Go away. I'll shoot you. Because I didn't know if it was a person. I didn't know what it was, but I know it was big, whatever it was, right? So it started slapping the side of the tent. And by this time, my girlfriend's in tears, just going hysterical. The dog's going crazy. It was just like, what am I going to do here? So I said, well, I got to do something. I reached down to grab the zipper of that tent. And you know how it's always got that little part in it, the nylon that locks into the zipper? I was doing everything I could to unlock that zipper so it'd raise up and open up so I could get out. So by this time, I'm hearing it going back down the hill, okay? And I told her, unzip this tent, do it. I was just going to rip it open. I didn't care at that point because I was so scared. I mean, I would shot it right there on the spot, if I could have got out. Well, pretty soon she got it unzipped. I jump out, and I'm hearing it going down the side of the hill, and the dog takes off after it, and I hear it yelp. My dog yelp. Well, here he comes running back, and he dives into this tent, and it's like, wow, what is wrong with you? This dog was not afraid of nothing. This dog would take on a mountain lion and not even think nothing about it. He was just protected. I mean, that he's a wolf. Well, so I said, well, what was that? What was that? Well, I jump out. I'm looking for tracks, and stuff. We never could ever find out what it was. It was dry. It was so dry out. It wasn't going to leave a track, It was so dry. And so that was my first encounter with a Bigfoot. Okay, well, the grass man, they said, because I talked to Ranger when Ranger came around to collect the dues for the campsite. I said, dude, I think we had an encounter. And he's like, well, we have a lot of encounters here. And I was telling him about it. He's like, well, I really do believe you really did. And my girlfriend said, we're packing up now. Let's leave right now. And she would not stay there again. We packed all our stuff up, went home. Well, we moved to Oregon about 3 months later, and there was no jobs here at the time. I mean, the market for jobs was really bad at the time. And I said, well, what am I going to do to make money here, extra money or something, Because I'm retired from Honda Motor Corporation. I was an automotive engineer there. And I said, so what am I going to do? And some guy said, oh, dude, go collect chanterelles. They pay, good money. Well, I've always collected morel mushrooms in Ohio my whole life, and all kinds of mushrooms, but I didn't know what a chanterelle was, so they had to show me. Well, I got a crew together of 9 Mexican women that works for this lady, and she said, oh, these are great pickers. Take them out, take them out. I'll give them to you. They're great workers. So we went out mushroom hunting, and we'd go on all the back roads, all that. And we did very, very, very well. We had a crew of 9, them and me, 10 people. And we did very well commercially picking these. Well, one day we were over by Alpine, Monroe area, and in Oregon, and was up on the hill. And they were the women were all down below the hill down because we found a lot of chanterelles all the way up the side of this hill, and they were just having a blast picking these things, laughing and having a good time. Next thing I know, I was up on the top of the hill because I wanted to see what was on the other side, and there was a clearing, where the trees ended, and then they had logged this part and there's trees up here. Well, pretty soon there was a roar, and I'm not kidding you. This roar was like nothing I've ever heard in my whole entire life. It shook me up a minute, and I was like, "What is that?" And next thing I know, this thing was coming through the trees. I mean, it was big, whatever it was, and I thought, "What is that?" I didn't know. I didn't have any idea. I'm from Ohio. We don't have nothing like that there. Well, we do. We have the grass, man. But anyway, this thing was coming up through the trees like King Kong. I swear to God, that's exactly what it reminded me of. It was just knocking limbs down, breaking limbs, breaking trees. Just coming up out of the clearing. Next thing I know, there he was, right there. I mean, he was probably probably 30 yards from me, if that much. And all I had on me was a Glock 9mm, you know, and I knew this was not going to do anything to this. This thing was huge. It was probably a good 8 foot. Just, I mean, I've never seen no man ever built like this in my whole entire life. His chest was huge, probably a good, I swear he had to be at least 4 foot wide. I mean, just huge. I've never seen anything like this in my life. And my mind is like, it's like telling me, this don't exist. This don't exist. This is a figment of your imagination, Mark. I mean, I just couldn't get it in my head what I was looking at. Well, these ladies down below that were picking the mushrooms, they all were like real quiet, pointing at it. They had their telephones. They were taking pictures of it with their telephones, and I mean, they were like flipping out. Well, he's looking right at me and never took his eyes off me, and I'm staring back at him like, what is going on here? What are you going to do? You know, are you going to come at me? I had no idea. I couldn't, my brain just would not function. It would, number one, I'll tell you the honest God truth, I peed my pants. I was that scared. I didn't know what to do. I mean, the van's way down at the bottom of the hill where they were. So I'm screaming at them, get in the van. Get in the van right now. Well, my dog was in the van because we were having problems with deer and elk, and he'd take off running after the deer and elk, and I got tired of that. See, now you're in the van until you can act right, you know? Well, he's raising holy cane. Just holy cane in this van. And I told him, don't let that dog out. Do not let that dog out. Well, this thing just started looking at me, and then it started coming at me. And it was like, now what am I going to do? He's going to kill me. I'm going to get killed right here. You know, what am I going to do? Well, I took my gun, and I mean, I shot it right over its head. Just right over its head. I mean, that's all I could do was hopefully get a shot that would wound it or hurt it, because he was going to kill me. I know he was going to hurt me bad if he got me. Well, he reared back when I shot that gun, and his teeth. I mean, the look he gave me was, dude, if I get a hold of you, I'm going to hurt you bad. Okay? He was not afraid, but he was afraid of that gun. So he must have heard it once before. So he had to have heard a gun once before because he reared back. Okay? Next thing I know, he's turning around, but he's keeping his eyes on me as he's walking back up into those trees, right? So I said, okay, now I don't want to run because I don't want him to chase, you know, a predator chases you. That's exactly what he was as far as I was concerned, was a predator. He was a wild animal. He wasn't a human. I mean, he looked human in ways, like the face. I mean, he was brown, like a brown, or like a brown black. You know, he was so brown he was black. And he had the hair on like 4-inch hair all over his body, except for his face. And his eyes, I'll never forget his eyes as long as I live, and I still have nightmares over it. They were like piercing me. They were like going right through me. I mean, I've never seen eyes like that in my whole entire life. Never, never, never. Don't ever want to again either. Okay? And I'm thinking, you know, I always wanted to see Bigfoot, but I didn't want to see it like this. You know, I didn't know it would be an aggressive thing. I thought it'd be like, you know, when you hear people talk, oh, yeah, he crossed the road right in front of me, you know. Just like, yeah, he's probably waving at you as he's doing it. He's probably a friendly guy, you know, just wants to be left alone. Okay, and not this one, huh?
Hey,
No,
Mark.
no.
Mark,
Yes.
can we ask some questions about what you saw? Is
Oh,
that okay?
I'm sorry. Yes. Yes.
So there's some really interesting comments coming in. So you were able to see the teeth. Were they like canine teeth or all flat like chiclet gum?
They
would
were like
be?
block teeth, like
Okay.
like a block teeth. You know, like a.
Yep.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
They were
exactly.
square block.
Yep. That's a
But
great
let me
question.
tell you,
Spot on.
he showed me every one of them. Okay. Okay. I mean, I grew up in the woods. I've been in the woods my whole entire life. When I was a kid, you know, June 1st would be there, and well, I wouldn't see my parents again until August.
Absolutely.
Okay. I mean, I hunted, I fished, I did everything in the woods. Okay. My whole life I've been like that. And, you know, it's like I've never seen anything like this. What is this thing? And then it dawned on me. This is what they call Bigfoot.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, these ladies in the van were so scared. I mean, they were screaming and stuff. And then I had them screaming. I had the dog going off down there. I have him growling and screaming at me like he wants to kill me. Okay. After he come through the woods like King Kong. Okay. I mean, I was scared. I won't lie to you.
Right.
I was petrified. Okay. I'm thinking, well, I got to save them. Okay. I got to save myself. But I'd much rather he got me than all 9 of them, because he gets me, the keys are in the ignition. They will leave. Okay. All right.
Sure.
Well, so when he left, you could hear him just raising cane going back through the trees, right? Well, somebody let the dog out. Okay, I couldn't say grab the dog, but the dog's chasing this thing down the trees. And I'm hearing holy cane going on where this dog and him is at it. Okay? And I'm thinking, oh my God, he's going to kill my dog. He's going to kill my dog. Next thing I know, all I heard was a yelp, and they heard nothing else.
Oh, no.
Okay? Yeah, dead quiet. Well, I couldn't leave these women down in the van, so but I knew the dog would come out eventually. You know, if he didn't kill him, he was coming out. So I went down to the van and I told him, "Look, I want you to go find a park ranger, a police officer, or somebody, and I want them up here. Okay, my dog's gone now, and I got to find my dog." And they were like, "Oh, we're so scared. We're scared." I said, "Take the van and find somebody." Okay. Well, I mean, I had my cell phone, but there was no service where we was at. I mean, we was in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
So I said, just go to the ranger station and get somebody, or find a police station and go to Monroe. They have a substation there, you know. Well, they went and I stood there for a minute thinking, oh, I got to find my dog. I got to get the dog. He's not out yet, you know. So I took off to find him, and I went in about 50 yards, and I still cry to this day, because this dog was the best dog I ever had in my life. Here's my dog. He's hanging from a limb about 12 foot up. Okay? Dead. And I was like, you know, you have to be a pretty strong thing, human, animal, whatever you want to call this thing, to throw that dog. He weighed 126 pounds up 12 feet into a tree. Okay? And then I look around, and you know the rims for like a semi that they use for the fire pit?
Mm-hmm.
There was 2 of them up there. Now, you know how heavy those are? Now, I'm looking at those going, what the heck? And this it was like a picnic pavilion type thing that was up there for, I guess, somebody built it for their family, and they probably camped there a lot. They used it, you know, when they went camping there, you know. This thing was demolished. It was tore up. And there's these 2 fire rings in this tree. And they're about 10 foot up there, and there's my dog. So about, probably a half hour later, here they come, and they've got a park ranger, a ranger, a DNR guy. And I said, sir, can you come here? I got to show you. I said, I'll tell you the story. And you know what he tells me? This is what he tells me. Please don't tell me you saw a Bigfoot, because if you do, he said, now I don't know if this is fact or not, but he said, if you do, then I'm going to have to take your driver's license.
What?
Now, I'm going to have to take your driver's license because you're not sensible. You're not thinking correctly. I said, what are you talking about? My driver's license. Yeah, I don't know if it's true or it's not. I've tried to find out from every state highway patrolman I can talk to about it and stuff. They said they can take your driver's license if you report you saw a Bigfoot while you're driving a vehicle. If the keys are in ignition, then there's something wrong with you. Yeah, that's exactly what he said. I said, wait a minute. Look at my dog. My dog's 12 feet in the air, and I've measured it. My dog's 12 feet in the air, 126-pound dog. How'd my dog get up there? It had to have been a mountain lion, and he drug him up there. Oh, no. No. Ask them women what they saw. Ask them. They got pictures on their telephones. Ask them. He said, look, I'm not here to discuss this with you anymore.
Whoa.
Now, what is it you saw? And he made me appear like I was a liar, like I was nuts. And I took offense to that. And he's like, sir, now settle down or we can go downtown and talk about it. He did not care one bit. He didn't care what I saw. He did not care about it. At least that's the way he played, okay? Well, pretty soon, here comes 2 more. And I said, well, can't you just go up there and investigate it and see what knocked out? Limbs were broke everywhere. This pavilion's all busted up. Mm-hmm. You got tire rims, semi-tire rims in a tree 10 foot up that weigh probably 155, 160 pounds, It's like, wait a minute. Okay, how did those get up there? Kids just vandalism. They just destroy everything. I could not believe what I was hearing. I was so mad. It's like, you're not going to take any kind of report? Oh, I'll take a report and then I'll take your license. What? I think he cared about was how many mushrooms did we pick and did I have a commercial permit?
Right.
That's what he asked me. He did not care about my dog. He did not care about our well-being. He did not care what we saw. He did not care about anything. But yet, he would not go any farther into the woods by himself. Okay? I said, go ahead. Go down there and investigate then. Do your investigation. Because I'm telling you what I saw. Don't stand here. Look, I am an automotive engineer. I am highly educated. I didn't believe in it either. If you would have told me, 5 years before that, I was going to see Bigfoot, I'd be like, yeah, sure, I will. Okay, yeah, sure. Let me tell you, it exists. I don't care what anybody ever says to me about it. I know what I saw, okay? So there is no argument of they don't exist. Well, you better come up with a little bit more of an argument than that, okay?
Yeah, right.
because if you would have been there that day, you'd be the same way I am now. And, that's been, 12 years ago? And, I haven't been in the woods one day since.
Wow.
Don't care to.
Yeah.
Don't care to ever go back in the woods. None. And I live in Scottsburg, Oregon now, and we're surrounded by mountains and woods. Okay, but I won't go into the woods. I'll stay.
Yeah.
Okay. No way. No way at all. Okay, and because I know what's out there. I know what's out there. I've seen it. Now, I believe they're migratory. You know, they follow like where their food sources is. You know, they go from north to south. You know, the salmon, the berries, whatever, the deer, the elk. You know, I believe they're migratory, and I do believe that they do go underground where there's lava tubes and stuff.
Yep,
I do believe that. Okay, but how he just disappears, how I don't understand. I heard him kill my dog, and then it was dead silent, like it just disappeared, like he was. You know what I'm saying? I have so many questions that I'd like somebody to answer that they can't.
Absolutely. I'd be the same way. I'd be the same way, Mark. Yeah. I'm sorry you lost your dog.
Yeah, he's a good dog, too. You know, he would have died for me. And he did die for me. He died protecting us. Okay, well, you know what? Not one of them 9 women ever went back in the woods again. None of them. As a matter of fact, a lot of them went back to Mexico. Because this lady asked the lady that hired him, she's like, what'd you do to him? I can't get him to work. Well, yeah, you won't. I'm not working for you anymore. I'm not working in the woods anymore. I don't do that anymore. Sorry. No, I used to love to camp. I used to love to go out and fish. You know, I'd be at Spirit Lake out there in the middle of nowhere. You know, I'd be, I'd go where no man would go. You know, but not anymore.
Mark, sorry, is that Spirit Lake by Oak Ridge?
Yes.
Okay.
I used to love to go there. I used to love to go there.
Okay, so I have questions, Mark. We're gonna put a pin in that first. Did you ever see the photos that they took?
Yes. Like they were way down at the bottom of the hill, but you could see it. I mean, it looks like it's just a big gorilla is what it appears. That it had the cone head, like an acorn head, and no neck that I saw. I mean, there was hardly any neck. Okay, the arms were like down past his knees. That's what really got me, like how awkward he looked. Like he was. I mean, he moved like nothing I'd ever seen move, and fast. He was quick, and I mean, I think if he really wanted to, he could have gotten me really quick. He wouldn't have been afraid of that gun. But I know he's heard a gun because just the way he reacted when I shot it. Okay, and I knew I only had, the only way I was going to hurt him was a headshot, basically, and that's where I was heading. I mean, I'm sorry, I don't want to see him die. I don't think nothing like that should die. I think something like that should be studied. It's a bear. Well, when did Oregon get Kodiaks? Because that's about what it looked like.
Mark, did you happen to get any of the photos from those ladies?
I got some on my SIM card on my telephone, but that. Okay, how do I put it? Okay, the phone died. Okay, the phone died.
Okay.
Well, the battery just went kaput. Well, the SIM card's there, but somebody said if you don't do it right, you're going to erase everything on that SIM card. I got the phone, and I want it professionally done. Okay, and I just haven't had it done. But I want it professionally done when it's done, because you might only get one shot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I tried to download it on a computer once, and it acted like it was going to erase everything. And I yanked it. No. So that's why I want it professionally done. And I swear when I get it done, and it's going to be soon, because I want questions answered. I want somebody to tell me, where did this come from? Did we create this? You know, is this a man-made thing, or is this from 1,000 years ago that it's evolved and it's still around? Or, because it looked like a caveman gorilla. Does that make sense?
No, it totally does. And I hope that you are able to get the photos off of that SIM card. And definitely, I would love it if you keep me in the loop with what happens with that, Mark.
Are you going? You're going to the Bigfoot thing over in
I sure am.
in Oak Ridge, right?
Yep, I'll be there.
I'm going to look you up. I'm going to look you up if you don't mind.
Yeah.
It's okay if I do.
Yeah.
And okay, and when is that?
That is July. I want to say July 19th coming up is when it starts.
Okay, you know what? Then I'm going to put big effort into getting this thing developed.
Please.
And you're the only one I want to see. You're the only one I want to look at, because I want you to tell me what you see.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
You tell me what you see.
Yes, sir.
When I look at it, I know what it was, because so my opinion means nothing, as far as, because I know what it was. But I want somebody that don't have no idea about nothing to look at that picture and tell me what it is. Okay, and I'm going to get it professionally done. Trust me.
Absolutely. Like, try to get it maybe printed out. Try to get the digital version. But I wanted to talk to you about Spirit Lake, because Spirit Lake I've talked to a gentleman about, and they had some really intense Bigfoot sightings at that lake, which is pretty remote out there by Oak Ridge and McCready Springs.
I had 2 buddies that went up there and had the same thing.
No way.
But I used to go up there all the time. I had problems with bears, but I never had a problem with Bigfoot or anything. But I had 2 buddies that went up there that they were literally scared out. They never saw anything. They just heard. Like
really?
It was, like it was, what's the word when he, what's the word? Like, trying to get them, like trapping them.
Okay.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they're going to be with me at the Bigfoot thing. I'll have them tell you their little story, because they will. This one will scare you.
Oh,
this one will scare you.
This is going to be the best. This is going to be intense.
I'm telling you, everything I'm telling you now is honest to God truth. I have no reason to lie. Why would I lie?
Oh, I know, Mark. I know. You are dead on.
I mean, to hear somebody tell you this, if somebody told me this, I'd be like, yeah, dude, you better go take a nap, okay? but what I'm telling you, every bit of it is a gospel truth. Every bit of it. And, I mean, I'll tell you the same story. You ask me next week to tell, and I'll tell you the exact same story. And it's not because I rehearsed nothing. It's because it's all going through my brain. I mean, there's tons I've missed telling you, too,
sir,
you know?
Yep. Well, we'll talk in Oak Ridge.
Oh, buddy, I can't wait. I'm so glad. I am so glad that I met you. I am so glad, because I'll tell you, I just want I want my government to answer my questions. And what I'd really like is if there's been a Bigfoot sighted there, wherever, just put up a sign that says, look, there's been a Bigfoot sighted here. So if you've got children, we're going to give you the option. You don't have to stay here. You can go down the road where it's not been sighted.
Yeah,
okay?
Absolutely.
But they need to put something up. I don't care what it is. Okay? I mean, they said, they can't say it exists because it'll ruin the timber industry. No, it won't. How's it going to ruin the timber industry? This thing migrates. It's not like it lives in one spot like the spotted owl does. Okay? I mean, the spotted owl lives in one area its whole life. Now, Bigfoot don't. I mean, I guess there are some that do, where they have the resources to live year round. But I think I'd perhaps say 9/10 of them migrate. Okay, and they got little clans. Okay, I mean, that's why they don't find a body, because I guarantee you, if somebody shoots one, you better be prepared to take on about 8 or 10 of them, because they're coming.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, they're coming.
Oh yeah.
Okay, that's why when one dies, its body is taken away. It's buried, or it's in a lava tube, or it's someplace. And one day somebody's going to start finding where they hid these things. Okay, we don't know why they bend sticks and have these tree things in the croppings out in the middle of the woods. We don't know none of that. Maybe that's their burial site. We don't know that. We have no clue. Nobody knows nothing about them because we don't take the time to study that. Okay, we don't care. It's like, I care. I want to know. Okay, why did he bend that branch like that? You know, why? Is that a direction? Does he want you to go that way? Or is he telling other Bigfoots that go that way? Or I don't know, you know? I want to know. And I don't know. I've read every book I can, but nobody ever has none of the answers. It's all guess. You know, I don't know. It's just, as many people have seen him, now tell me he doesn't exist, really. How can you really look at somebody and say, oh, no, he don't exist?
Absolutely.
That's because you haven't seen him, and you're jealous because you haven't seen him. Okay.
Mark, if you haven't gotten your tickets to that festival yet, you can go when you get your tickets at SasquatchSummerfest.com for Oak Ridge. If you use code Bigfoot Society, which is 2 words, all capitals, you'll get 50% off the cost of the tickets. Okay.
Oh, no, I already got mine.
Oh, you already got them. Okay, yeah, good. All right, cool.
I got them first day.
Right. So for people that haven't, but that are going to be.
Oh yeah, I'll tell my buddies because they
tell
haven't.
Your buddies. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely will do that. Definitely will do that. Yes. So I you can take my story for what it's worth, but let me tell you, it's actual, it's factual. I got pictures. I just got to get it developed, and I will have it developed by then. I'll make it a point now that I've talked to you. I feel so much better. Keep it off my chest. You know, you can't tell nobody. You just can't tell somebody this story. They look at you like you're insane, you know, but trust me, I'm a very educated person. I mean, I designed the Accords and Civics for 22 years, okay?
Oh, wow.
For Honda. So, I didn't want to see, I didn't ask to see this thing. I mean, that was the last thing in my mind was this thing coming out of the woods one day. I didn't even want to see it, okay? I was just trying to do my job, okay? And it just ruined my whole life.
Mark,
ruined my whole life.
I'm looking forward to chatting with you more at Oak Ridge.
Oh, I can't wait.
I'm glad you called in. I know this was extremely tough for you to share, but I'm glad you did, and we'll talk more later. My email is bigfootsociety@gmail.com. You can keep in touch with me that way.
Yes.
I'm just thankful that we got to talk tonight, and
Me too.
I'll talk to you later.
Me too. All right, hey, listen, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. I feel so much better. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Mark, for calling in. We'll be in touch, okay?
All right, buddy. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Holy mackerel. That was really wild. That was one of the most intense calls I've ever taken. And the story is going to continue at Sasquatch Summerfest in Oak Ridge if he gets those photos off of that SIM card. Frank, if you missed the first part of that, this is one where you need to catch the replay of any episode. You need to catch the replay to hear what happened. And I'll be talking to Mark's buddies about what they experienced up at Spirit Lake, which, if you remember, a few a week or so ago, we heard from a gentleman who had intense encounters up at Spirit Lake, Sasquatch encounters, and went up there with Autumn Williams. Mark, I could tell Mark was very... I mean, if your dog got thrown up 12 feet in a tree, I would be emotionally done. Thank you, Mark. For those that are new, we've got 171 people here. This is Bigfoot Encounters Live. We do a live call-in show. Here we go. Let me know right away if you can hear it.
To send a voicemail, press.
Hi, this is Jeremiah.
Hey, Jeremiah.
Hi,
I wanted to give you. I called you last night. I was trying to get on your show. I had a weird thing happen to me. I mean, I'm kind of scared to even tell people, to be honest with you. They're going to think I'm a nut, but I mean, everybody that's on your show, a lot of people, if they don't understand Bigfoot, they think they're crazy, and that's not real. And it's a crazy thing happened to me last week.
And real quick before we get going. So first, if we can keep it as clean as we can, just because it is live and there are algorithms in play on YouTube. Thank you. And remind me of your name again, please.
Lindsay.
Lindsay, that's right. Yeah, I remember I was out doing some looking for Bigfoot, and I got your call. I was like, no way, I'm getting calls when I'm out here, and we're not even. This is great. So this is a perfect place for you to share what's going on.
I'm nervous.
Yeah.
I'm nervous to tell anybody this. I've told one friend. I mean, I'm kind of nervous about this, but I'll go ahead and, because I don't want people making fun of me or make them think I'm calling in a fake story. I really don't know, but I've had three Bigfoot encounters in my life.
Sure.
Grand total in my lifetime. You know.
You're in the right place to share what's going on. No one's going to make fun of you here, Lindsay. And I remember talking to you the first time. Actually, this is months ago, right?
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Missouri. The one in Missouri, and then the one in the tree over here in Colorado.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So feel free to go right ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So I had a story. I called in. I started watching this show, and I think this is like the best show that, not to be weird, but I think it's like the best show that they've ever made on this show that we're on here. So in my entire life, I never believed in Bigfoot. Just to kind of recap, I thought that was a joke, never believed in it. And then I lived in Missouri during COVID, and my friends lived out in the middle of the woods, far outside of Kansas City, over by the river. There's a lot of sightings over there, and Parkland, Missouri. So I had multiple experiences over there. So then I came to Colorado. I've been here almost 4 years. I'm back home in Colorado, and I was at work. I work for a law firm, and it's surrounded by farms. It's a strange little nook. There's an area across from where I work, and it's a residential neighborhood. But I looked at Google after all this happened. I looked down, and it's on the other side of that neighborhood is nothing but farmland. And from where I live all the way over there, it's nothing but farmland for 20 minutes. And, oil rigs and stuff like that and fracking out there, but farms. So it is very remote. I did see that. I looked up at the tree. I saw the tree shaking very high up, like 200 feet up. And I thought it was a squirrel. And I thought, there's no squirrel that's going to shake the limb like that. And then I started staring. And all of a sudden, I said, these kids must be climbing the tree. And I said, oh, no, there's no kids who are going to climb 200 feet that high in this pine tree. Then I looked, and I swear I thought it was a monkey. And in my mind, you don't register. Your mind doesn't register. It really doesn't. Your mind is looking at this thing. It'd be like watching the World Trade Center fall. Your mind's like, is this a joke? Is this a movie? That's how you feel. So I saw the thing coming down. It looked like a giant monkey, like a 5 foot. I can't tell you because it was across the street how tall it was, but it was big. And then, it took me hours and hours to register what it was. And I ran out to my car and I grabbed binoculars because I watch eagles and stuff. If I see eagles, I pull my car over and I'll just kind of watch them when I go to work periodically. But so that happened. I called in the show, told my stories. They're a little bit more detailed. So this is several weeks ago that happened. I then go over to a neighborhood. I lived there for 20 years. It's the Front Range, Fort Collins, Colorado. It's not in town. It's the outskirts out there. And right a good couple miles west.
Sorry. What's the area? Sorry to interrupt.
Fort Collins, Colorado.
Collins. Okay, thank you.
Fort Collins.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so it's 2 miles from the mountains. So this is the Front Range, and it's all, again, there's a wilderness protection area, a grassland protection area out there. So it's not cityfied per se. When I bought my house and built my house 20 years ago, that was out in the country. There's some build out there, but not much. So I took my dog over there to our old house, and I said, well, I'll take my dog to the park over there. It's not a lot of people. It's not very active where I could, have a little walk. So I took my dog for a walk, and there were little kids playing. Like on the other side, we just passed these kids, and they were over there playing, 10 years old playing. And we walked ahead over, and I sat down, and my dog, he's small, he's tiny, he sits, and he's a little Pekingese. They have impeccable hearing. So he's sitting next to me, and all of a sudden I hear something fall out of the tree. And I swear, I thought it, your normal mind, oh, kids playing in the tree over there. It was a house. It wasn't near where those kids were, but it was a house. And I looked up, and this thing was big. I could hear the trees, all branches, boom, 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 crack, 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 crack. And then boom, you could hear this loud thump on the ground. And I looked up, there's a bunch of trees, and I looked up, and all the tree limbs were all shaking. Like, no, that's not a little kid that could move those trees like that. And I just stared over there, and there was nothing there. Nothing. And I, again, your mind's not thinking what it really is. Your mind can't, for some reason, maybe it's just me, I can't accept this. My mind is like, I don't know what that was. I couldn't see it. Where is it? Something huge fell out of the tree. I've lived here 20 years. It's not a bear. It was a house that had a fence around it. So I was like, in Boulder, they get a lot of bears that come into town there. Never in 20 years heard of bears coming in the neighborhood over there. So long story short, it was Saturday night. I came home. I turned your show on, and there was a lady on here. And I still hadn't decided, or whatever you want to call it. In my mind, I'm like, I don't know what that was. So I come and I listen to your show, and then there's a lady on here. She goes, and then it was a slap in the face for me. She goes, do you think these Bigfoot follow you around? Because this was in one state. And she sounded like me, because she's like, it seems like they follow you or something, or you're on their radar. I am American Indian. I look white. I'm pretty white looking. I have blue eyes and blonde hair. But my grandpa was American Indian, and I have 7 different tribes in my bloodlines. On my mom and dad's side, there's a bunch of American Indian, and I
appreciate you calling back in to share, so you could share what you experienced in the Fort Collins area. That's very, very interesting. How it is seeming to follow you because of your heritage.
Yeah, I don't know why it wants to bother me, but I do think they're real and they're out there, and people that try to come forward. They have people make fun of them, or their family and friends think they're crazy. I don't know. Until you experience it yourself, you don't believe in it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. I totally get it.
And thank you for doing the show. Your show's great. I wish I had a video for you. In some ways, I wish I had a video, and in some ways, I'm glad I don't.
Well, Lindsay, hope to hear again from you someday, and be safe out there.
Yep. Thank you, sir.
Have a good one. Thank you for calling in, Lindsay. That was great to hear from her again. We have had some wild calls tonight. We've had Mark call in from Oregon. We've had Lindsay call in about Fort Collins, Colorado area. We're just having a great time. Tons of people in the chat. All right, let's try this.
Hello.
Hi, this is Jeremiah. Is this the individual that just tried to call me?
Yes, sir. How you doing, Jeremiah?
Great. And who is this?
Rose.
Rose.
Yeah, grow as in grow a garden. Zay as in rhymes with Jose.
Thank you. So Groze, awesome. Well, thanks for calling in. I saw a transcription of your voicemail. It looks very interesting. I'm going to go ahead and I would love to have you share what you've experienced up there, Groze.
Wow, cool. It's true story. True stories.
Yes, sir.
When and what should I do?
So if you would like, I see you've got a few things you're calling in about from Northern California. I will go ahead and, sorry, I need to put on Do Not Disturb, a few people calling in. But yeah, I'll let you go ahead and share what you encountered up there, and the floor is yours.
Wow, okay, cool. I'll do my best. I will start from the first experience and go through my list.
Yes, sir.
And tell it how it is. I was up in Humboldt County. I moved up there in 1996, and I lived there till 2007. And I've always been interested in Sasquatch, so I knew that Humboldt County was a big Bigfoot area. There was lots of people's sightings that were reported that go back hundreds of years, even when they were logging the place. The very first original loggers had lots of stories. But anyways, I was wanting to get out and hike around and look and see if I can't find any signs of Bigfoot or whatever. Actually, that day, I was not really actually out Bigfoot hunting. Of course not. I was out looking for a place to where I can grow. I was hiking around, and I looked for the hardest to get to place where I could cross the stream. And I walked up to the stream and jumped over a few rocks, and there was a cliff across the stream, and I saw a big vine hanging down, so I figured I could use that as a rope to climb up the cliff, about a 20-foot cliff. So I did that. I shimmied up the top, and like I said, I was looking for the hardest place to get to because I didn't want anyone going near my area. So I was hiking through the bushes, and I heard this whistling. It was a quick, and I was like, wow, that sounded like a human. Literally sounded like a person whistling, real crispy clear. And I heard it again, and I looked, and I didn't see nothing, so I kept walking. Then I heard another whistle on the other side of me. And I was like, I've been in them woods, in the redwoods. I lived out there for 6 months out in the woods with Earth First, North Coast Earth First. They're a group of people that save the redwoods from the loggers' illegal practices. Anyway, I recognize this as a human, because I've never heard a bird like that, so I thought to myself, maybe there's some growers around there, and there are lookouts up in the trees or something. So I was looking around. I kept walking, and then I heard more whistling. So I kind of froze and sat there. I sat down on some rocks. And then on the left side of me, I heard this tree shaking, and really, really violently. And I turned around, I looked, and a whole bunch of leaves fell to the ground. They were still falling as I looked. It was only being shaken for like 2 seconds. And I was like, whoa, all the branches were wiggling. And like I said, leaves by the hundreds came off the tree. And then I looked up in the crook of the tree, and I could see what looked to me like a red, furry, big, hairy orangutan is what I kind of was thinking I was looking at. And I could see its face, and I could see its belly, and it looked pregnant to me. Had a big, giant, pregnant belly. And I could see it looking right at me. And then it started to disappear. It started to like blend in and disappear. I could see bushes on the other side of it through its belly. What I was looking at was the big pregnant belly, and then next thing you know, it was disappearing. And all I could see was the face for the rest of the time, for the most part. And it never stopped looking at me. And then I heard more whistling coming down and some noise in the bushes up the hill. And it kept getting closer and closer. The whistle would end up like 10 seconds apart. The whistle would be 100 feet closer. And I was like, my God, am I tripping out here? This thing's starting to kind of freak me out. So I started getting scared, and I felt that the thing in the tree that was disappearing was very friendly or docile compared to the other energy I was getting from it was coming down the hill. So I just got up and left, and I just said, I'm out of here. I felt the major pressure. I felt kind of scared. So, and I was like, I was staring at this thing up in the tree the whole time, thinking, am I going crazy? Did I just see a female pregnant orangutan looking Bigfoot up in the tree disappear on me? So I just got up and I left. And then I was walking back down towards the stream, and I went back down the same route that went like a rope that went down to the stream, and I crossed the stream and I left. And then I drove about 4 miles down the road and saw this bridge that I'd been wanting to check out. So I pulled over and I wanted to look under the bridge. So I kind of went down the stream next to the bridge, and I made my way down right to the stream, to the creek, Elk River it's called, actually, right outside of Eureka. And next thing you know, I'm sitting there squatting down looking down, kind of kneeled over, looking at the river, looking for salmon or, some steelhead, just checking it out, see if I could see any fish. And I noticed the bridge was completely just overgrown. There was all these bushes that were pushed up against the bridge, like the river came down through a major storm and pushed a bunch of branches and trees up against the bridge. So you couldn't even see underneath the bridge. I couldn't see what was in there. And I was sitting there probably no more than 5 minutes when all of a sudden I heard 9 of the loudest grunts you've ever heard in your life. They just echoed from underneath the bridge, 20 feet away from me, 15, 20 feet away behind all these bushes where obstructing my view. And when I heard those grunts, it just froze me up. I felt it through my body. My bones shook. My head was just like, oh my God, what is going on? So I couldn't move. I sat there for about, I would say, at least 10 seconds, 20 seconds maybe, and in complete shock. And I was like, oh my God, that thing wants me out of here. It's definitely speaking to me or grunting at me, telling me, communicating me that it's not happy with my presence. So I was completely frozen. I couldn't move. I remember trying to think, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I'm vulnerable. I got to go back up this hill. And right then I heard in my mind, this, get up, turn around, and run up the hill. And I couldn't do it. And I heard it like 3 times. Get up, turn around, run up the hill. Finally, I broke out of my temporary, paralyzation. So I stood up, turned around, and ran up the hill and got in my car, locked my doors, my truck, and so I left. And that was it for that experience.
Chris,
I had a couple other ones.
Do you mind if I ask you something real quick before you continue?
Yes.
I love the ones where people say it looked like an orangutan. That is so fascinating to me. And you said it actually started to disappear when in the trees? Like, was it fading out, or it was just
fading out?
Really?
Yes, it was literally not moving at all. It was just all of a sudden becoming translucent.
Oh, wow.
Disappearing. Mainly the belly, and the neck was kind of, and her head was higher, obviously. The belly was huge. And next thing you know, I could see the bushes behind her, like right through her. It kind of cloaked out and became kind of like just invisible. So I could see the bushes behind her.
Did the face look like a orangutan as well?
Not as rounded and fully apish like an orangutan. The reason I first thought of an orangutan because of the color. It was red, thick hair.
Yeah.
But the face was very similar. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it was very similar, but it was harder to see because it was a little more obscure, kind of right up against a tree, almost kind of trying to hide its head from me, poking out a little bit, but it couldn't hide it, the rest of its belly and everything. The way it was laying in the Y part of the tree, like 20 feet up in the tree, where it's a nook or a Y, you know. But it definitely had that Cro-Magnon look, but it was probably 50 feet, 60 feet away up, and 30 feet up in the tree. So I really didn't get the greatest look at the face. I mean, I was staring at the face, but it was just, like I said, I could just see cheeks, the eyes. It looked like an orangutan, if you ask.
Absolutely.
If I were to give the best description.
Well, I thank you. I just wanted to ask a quick question on that, but feel free to continue with the rest of what you were trying to share.
Yeah. All right. Another time, a friend of mine and I were parked right off the side of this ridge up in Bridgeville. It's in Humboldt County as well. And we just pulled over. We're looking over the edge, over the, beautiful view. And next thing you know, I'm looking in my rearview mirror and I see this big oak tree behind me, probably 30, 40 feet behind me, my car. And all of a sudden, I see this like blur, and almost looked like a mirage or a heat coming off of, a roof or whatever. I seen this like weird thing going on. And right then I saw a Bigfoot come out of the tree, literally manifested from the tree, came out into its physical form in my mirror. And it looked me right in the mirror. And it went forward all the way, came out of the tree at ground level, just standing there, just came out of the tree as if it were part of the tree. And then next thing you know, it was him. And he like glided up to my car. I didn't see his legs move, but it went like floated up to the back of my trunk, put his hands on my trunk, and bent over and looked right through my window, right at me through the rearview mirror. And I started telling the girl next to me, don't look, don't turn around, don't turn around, look in the mirror. I put her visor mirror down, and she's all, what's going on? I go, don't turn around, look in the mirror. And she didn't know what I was saying. I was like, just look in the mirror. And I looked back in the mirror, and he was staring at her. She had long blonde dreads, and he was staring at her. And I could tell because he was looking at me, and then all his attention was on her hair.
Yeah.
And when I was telling him, I'm telling the girl, don't turn around, because I didn't want her to startle. I just wanted her to look in the mirror. So anyway, she didn't. I said it so quick, and it happened so quick. Next thing you know, he went backwards. I must have startled it a little bit, or something. Or for some reason, it decided that was enough. It only lasted like 20 seconds. He was looking in the mirror on the hands on the back of my trunk, and then he went exactly in reverse, back up against the tree. I saw the heat signature again, that blurry, and he absorbed back into the tree. Completely disappeared. Became the tree again. So
Frank's got a good question real quick. Did the hair of the Bigfoot look like your girlfriend's hair in any way?
No.
Okay.
She had long blonde dreads, really blonde. The Bigfoot that came out of the tree was dark brown. He was almost black. Okay. And his face was fully hairy. I do not remember seeing his eyes, unless they were. His face was fully hairy. I didn't see any skin. It was black face. So it was really hard for me to recall if I actually was looking into his eyeballs, unless they were dark. Okay. They were not bright color, yellow or gold or nothing, red, none of that. It was just really dark face. And he is probably, the same size as all the rest, 7, 8 feet tall. He wasn't a monstrous, huge Arnold Schwarzenegger, physique. So I think it was probably an adolescent or mid-teen, whatever. It's just not full 8, 10 footer, but a good 6.5, 7.5 feet tall, somewhere in there, because he was bent over. Look, anyways, we drove up the road right then, probably about a mile or two, and it was sprinkling a little bit. And we got out and looked at the trunk of the car, and it looked like a smeared handprint. And it was kind of oily too. I was like, what?
Oh, really? Wow.
And I looked at it and I was like, that looks like a handprint, but it was smeared, like it slipped up. And I do remember it looked oily. And so anyway, that was the extent of that one.
How big?
I explained to her what I saw, and she didn't see it. She couldn't figure out what was going on. She didn't see it, unfortunately.
How much bigger than your hand, or what was the size of the handprint roughly on?
Oh God, the size of a catcher's glove.
Okay, wow. Interesting.
With the fingers kind of smeared out, so I couldn't really make it out to look like an exact straight flat handprint. It was just looked like one smeared, like it, because it was sprinkling. It was wet.
Right, and your girlfriend didn't see it at any time. She never saw it.
Nope.
Wow.
She never saw it.
Whew.
I don't even know if she believed me, because it happened so quick, and I told her, we took off, and I was like frantic. But yeah, she didn't make anything. It was like nothing to her. She was like, wow, okay. She probably thought I was seeing things. I started thinking I was seeing things for years. Sure. I was like, how can that have happened? Because at the point when that happened, I had never heard of him or of anybody's stories of saying that they're supernatural, or they're, that they can disappear or appear. I had never heard of it at that point. And then after that happened, and I moved back down to LA County, YouTube and whatnot, I started watching it, and I started hearing people talk about it. I was like, oh my God, maybe I wasn't crazy. Maybe, that twice that I had seen a disappearing act. So I knew for sure that I was not by myself thinking that, I wasn't the only one that was thinking that they've seen the same thing, disappearing.
Oh, absolutely. And you should watch the Flash of Beauty documentaries if you haven't yet. On the Flash of Beauty.
Yes, channel. I have.
Yeah, okay. That's great. But yeah, continue. Definitely.
Okay. And those are those two. And another time, I told you the three. Okay, the one under the bridge, he grunted at me. The one up in the tree disappeared. Excuse me. Okay, another time I was walking across this bridge. It was in the same area where I saw the orangutan looking one. It was just a small foot bridge, probably maybe 3 or 4 feet above the stream. And I've walked that foot trail before, and the bridge was wide open. But this time when I came to the bridge, it had a bunch of branches all over it, like a tree fell on it. And I was like, wow, that's kind of strange. So I was kind of walking across the bridge, stepping through the branches and up and over. And like I said, there was branches all over it. You couldn't walk, no way, just walk right down the bridge. You had to duck and step up and over. So I was doing that. And next thing you know, I was kind of hugging the left side of the bridge, and I fell off the bridge. Next thing you know, I'm laying down in the stream about 3 or 4 or 5 feet down below on my back. And as I was going down, I was like, oh my God, this is going to hurt, because I was free falling. And I landed, but I did not get hurt. Boom, I hit the rocks, and I was halfway in the water. I was soaked. And I was like, oh man. And I went to get up, and I was like, how the heck that happened? And I looked, and I felt like I just got pranked. I felt like I heard 2 youthful giggling voices running down the stream, and they were invisible, but I heard them, and I looked, and I seen the footprints, their footsteps splashing as they were running down the stream. I seen water flying up, and I was like, did I just hear a couple of kids running down the stream? I was like, what the heck just happened? I'm still laying there. I tried to pick myself up. I'm getting up out of the water. I'm like, where's my shoe? And I'm looking around. Oh, my God, I got to find my shoe. So I started looking in the water, thinking it's going to be floating down the stream. It was just 5 or 7 feet wide, a few inches deep, and but it was running pretty good. So I was like, I got to find my shoe. I couldn't find my shoe. I looked all over, standing there, looking under the bridge, went down. And like I said, I thought I saw splashing footprints, kids, or it sounded to me like kids. And I instantly thought, like they got me, they pranked me. It was as if they had their hand up there as I stepped, and I stepped right into their palm of their hand, and they pulled me off the bridge, and so yanked my shoe off at the same time. So there I am looking for my shoe, couldn't find it. I ended up having to hobble all the way back to my car with one shoe on and one missing shoe. And that was it. I got back to my car, and another time, I didn't really say nothing to anyone about it. That I recall. I may have brought it up to my friends, but they probably just like, dude, you're nuts, you're Bigfoot crap or whatever. But other times they were just, I can hear them screaming out by Bluff Creek.
Okay.
Out by
I'm gonna jump in a little bit. So you've heard screaming and stuff by Bluff Creek?
Yes.
Really?
Yes, out there by the reservation there.
The
Hoopa Reservation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow.
Yeah, we were there at a music fest. It was called, I can't remember what it was called. Summerfest.
Okay.
And we were camped, parked down by the stream. And in fact, I think we were over by the Trinity River at that night, because we were camping all around. And one night it was just getting dark, and we heard these across the river, a big part of the river. I think it was the Trinity River. Probably 100 feet wide, 50, 60, 70 feet wide, the river itself. On the other side, it was fully big timber, full-on forest, and we heard a big scream. And it was a long, blood-curdling, like a screaming howl type, and it lasted about 10 seconds. And then we heard right immediately after that, we heard another one further up the canyon. And when that ended, we heard another one way further up the mountains. and then another one even further up the mountains. And I was like, are those echoes? But they weren't. They're all like, no, those are different ones communicating back for like, oh my God. I was thinking of those. There's no hippie could scream that loud,
Right.
who on
Yeah.
or up in the woods. And I could tell by the distance and how far and how muffled the next few were, that they were further way miles up the canyon. They were communicating. It was like a roll call or something. All of a sudden, they just decided to sound off. And probably at least heard 3 or 4, maybe 5 different screams. And they were all the same. The woman's blood-curdling scream.
That is incredible.
That you hear. Yeah.
Have you heard of any sightings in that area, in the Bluff Creek area?
Myself, no, not other than the original
Right.
Patty.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't know anyone from that area hardly at all. So I would just go out there with friends, day hiking or to the music fest and hanging out and, camping. But I didn't know anybody out there personally. I've been out there a few times. I lived in Arcata in Eureka, which is about 50 miles inland off the 299, just straight there. And it's between Redding and Humboldt.
Gotcha.
Eureka.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think that's the extent of them.
Grosse, fascinating accounts. I've hardly had any people that I've talked to from Humboldt County, and these are just fascinating accounts, especially from, you don't even hear a lot of them where it's like disappearing, cloaking Bigfoot. People are afraid to talk about stuff like that. And I just want to thank you for sharing what you've experienced.
Oh,
that's really important.
I just remembered another one.
Okay.
It was what I guess people are calling getting zapped, hit by their by the frequency.
Absolutely.
That same bridge where I'd gone down that footbridge where I got I lost my shoe and I fell off the bridge, whatever. Past that, quarter mile or so, I went out there. I think it was after the shoe episode. I went out there again, and it was either before or after. I can't remember. Not important, but I went past the bridge probably for another 20 minutes walking, and I was in this big field. And there was people with quads. I saw a guy riding by on a quad, and there was a big, thick timber at ledge there. It was like a clear cut, and then the timber starts up again. Anyways, I was walking over towards that timber, towards the forest where it got real thick. I was probably 100 feet away from that big hedge where the main entrance to the the forest, the real thick timber. And all of a sudden I started getting really, I don't know, kind of like dizzy and sweaty and nauseous. Yeah. And I was like, what the heck's going on here? And I was like, oh my God, I literally got to stop walking, and my hands on my knees. And I was like, I got to sit down. I was like, started feeling sick. And I kept looking into the bushes, into the trees, into the redwoods there. And I was like, my God, it felt like something's in there that was causing this, this, I don't know, I just didn't feel too comfortable. So I was like, I don't want to sit down right here next to the dang trees. Because I'd gotten closer. I was about 100 feet away, and I was 50 feet, probably 20, 30 feet away from the trees. And I was like, I didn't want to sit down there, but I had to. I was completely done in. I don't know what it was, but I was nauseous. I was dizzy. I felt sick, sweaty. So I sat down, and that's when I saw the quad come by, and I was like, oh my God, I almost wanted to signal the dude by holding my hand up because I couldn't get up. I was like, but then again, I was like, no, I don't want him to see me. And so I kind of laid down below the weed levels, the level of the grass and whatnot. And then I was like, man, I better say something, because I don't know if I'm going to be able to get up. Something, I'm not feeling right. I feel like, what if I get stuck out here, So anyway, I kept saying 5 minutes to myself. In 5 minutes, I'll make an effort to get up and walk out of here. And 5 minutes come by, and I was like, I can't do it. 5 more minutes. 5 more minutes. And I got to get up. I got to get out of here. And I was feeling this pressure from the bushes behind me. And like I felt like I was being watched big time. And finally I started feeling a little bit better, or finally I just got up and said, I felt kind of so paranoid from the presence that I was feeling in the bushes that I forced myself up, and I started walking, and I started feeling better. So I got out of there, went back over the bridge, back to my car, got in my car and left. And I don't think I told anyone about that one either. Which is strange, I've kept a lot of this to myself, and then I have told my family and friends, and I don't know if they believe me. I don't have no reason to lie. I would no way make this stuff up. None of it, and I just feel that people may have just like, all right, we believe you're okay. We believe that you believe it or something, I don't know if people believe me or not, but anyway, yeah, I'm 100% believer that they're out there. They can,
absolutely,
they are supernatural, and they can do this, that, and the other, whatever. I do not doubt anybody's stories. When I hear anything, I don't think anyone would make up. I'm sure there's people that would go out of the way, but for the most part, I believe every one of the stories that I hear. Who's going to make these things up? Who's going to turn around and decide to become the one with a crazy experience, and then, sure, have people perceive them as a nut? And that's why I believe that these people aren't going to be making these stories up, no matter how crazy they are, how outlandish or whatever, because what I saw, and when I believe what I saw and what I experienced, I know what I saw. I have to be able to have confidence in whatever I hear, that other people are going to tell their stories and their truths, and it can't be it's not something we're meant to understand. If we have that experience and it happens, you have to absorb it. You have to understand that experience is very profound to each one of us. So I like I said, I believe most of the stories that I hear people tell. I don't, not once do I think, oh, that guy's lying. That's outlandish, or that's impossible, or, from what I've seen, anything's possible.
Well, Groze, I'm just thankful that you were able to come forward and finally, share with a larger audience what you've encountered over the years. And, it's stories like these that really help listeners that might not be aware of things going on in their area, or that just need a little bit of a push to come forward themselves. And thank you so much for calling in.
You know what? I didn't mention, but I do think that the one that I saw, while they were whistling, the orangutan one, and then I left that area and I went down and had the bridge experience where they grunted at me. I think it was the same male, or the same one that was whistling that kind of scared me out of there, that came down when I was observing the one up in the tree. I think it beat me to the bridge down the road. I was driving probably 40, 50 miles an hour for like at least 5 miles. And this thing was there before me. And I have a feeling he either rushed down there, or he just, did his supernatural appearance there. And I also had some experiences out here in Southern California in Lake Arrowhead. Last year, my son and I, we went out and we were hiking out in the mountains, and we thought we saw what was a mother with a baby on her back, on her shoulders, going from one side to the left to the right of her head. And this was probably an eighth of a mile away. We were up on a hill and we were looking down the hill, and it was right next to a tree. And I pointed it out. I said, that looks like a Bigfoot mother with a baby on her back. And for some crazy reason, I think that they know once you've seen them, that I believe that there's something to it when they say you get tagged.
Yep.
I believe that it doesn't matter if they're a family unit, part of their immediate family, or if they migrate from Northern California or Southern California, it doesn't matter. I think that they know you regardless, or they can just pop up into your life supernaturally out of a tree or whatever, a portal, and they can pop up and reveal themselves and know that you share a memory and have history with them. For some reason, I have that feeling. And I believe I put a lot of time and thought into this all the time. I'm always like almost obsessed with wanting to see them again.
Mm-hmm.
And believe I will have another chance and another experience to see one. I forgot I had another experience. I just remembered. I saw one not far from my house. And that's what makes me think that this one somehow through the knowledge of just through their tribe or something, that this one, even though it had nothing to do with my experience up in Northern California, I think this one knew I was tagged and therefore was observing me. Now, this was out right by a dry riverbed, right over here, and close to a nuclear plant, San Onofre, and it's kind of desert area. There's the Camp Pendleton military property.
Okay.
That's where I was at. I was next to a big dried river stream, San Mateo Creek, and I was looking for rocks and agates, crystals, whatever, just kind of checking it out, see if I can't find anything in the stream or the dried riverbed. And I looked over and I saw this, what looked to me like a biker with the biggest head I've ever seen, and had cheekbones, probably a foot. His face was as big as a Frisbee. Tan, the most tannest person, like sunburnt tan I've ever seen. Big, giant, round cheeks, big, hairy beard coming off of his face. It had skin. It was totally tan and wrinkled, and long hair, kind of like a biker. And I was thinking, is this a human? And that has got to be the oldest, most leather-headed, leather-faced person I've ever seen in my life, was my first thought when I saw it. But his head was way too big. His eyes were way too wide apart. The facial features, the cheekbones were probably a foot apart. It was way too wide, way, way bigger than any human. And it was squatted down behind some bushes. All I could see was his head. And as soon as I saw it, I went, this thing's watching me. It's watching me. And it saw me first, and I was like startled. And I was like, maybe this is some sort of homeless camp. And there's the oldest dude you ever seen living there with the biggest tannest face on the face of this earth.
Right.
So I don't know if that was one of them or not. I just turned around and left. But yeah, that I have to say, my inclination is that yes, it was one, and it was a different type, or just an older one.
Sure.
More sunburnt, much older, because it had no hair on its face, just a big beard and goatee, and hair coming down its neck. I couldn't see how long his hair was in the back, but it was definitely silver and gray. And like I said, very, very, very tanned. So I've never seen anybody that tan in my life. That's the only reason I don't think it was a human.
Yeah.
And besides the fact that the face was huge, enormous. But other than that, yeah, I still want to go down there. I'm obsessed with just thinking as I'm always being drawn. I got to go out there. I need to go find one. I need to go look. It's like they're calling me. They're like letting me know that they will show themselves. Like that female I saw with the baby on her neck, going back and forth. I felt that since I saw the pregnant one, they were showing me a baby with its mother. I know it sounds nuts.
Groze, I mean, you have some incredible encounters that you have shared tonight. I just want to thank you again for calling in, and please keep us in mind if there's, anything in the future that you experience. Please feel free to reach out. But
right
again,
on.
just
Well, thank you,
for
Jeremiah.
calling
I appreciate your
in.
time. Yeah, thank you for having me. I really do appreciate it.
All right.
Wow.
Well, I hope that
All
we be in touch at a later time, and have a great night, sir.
Okay, you too. Thank you. Bye.
All right. Wow, what a incredible night. Let's take another one.
To accept, press 1. To send a...
Hi, this is Jeremiah.
Hey, Jeremiah. Glad I got you. I just wanted to call in, man, and say I appreciate your work. And I just got out from Georgia, back in Texas now. But I just got out from Georgia with a trip with my woman. She stays out there, and we actually tried to find a couple of the Bigfoot museums. But I just wanted to call in and say, for the people that do have experiences, man, people believe y'all. And I believe with the times right now, the world is changing. And just, I don't want to get into all that, frequency stuff, but people's minds are changing. So don't ever feel, down on yourselves for how you feel or how you may get backlash, because it's all a part of it. And also the people who want to kind of understand, in my perspective, the type of traits that they have or where they come from. These things have been around for a long time. I know if anybody is on here, we're all a part of the community in some way or form, and we all understand that they were around when the natives were here. And I'd like to shed people's lights on, like, how the Book of Enoch, I don't want to get too deep, but the Book of Enoch and the fallen and their procreations with women here. And I believe that also they come from Nephilims, and they're a part of a type of, I think they're a type of family bloodline. And then I have other documentaries that told me about, like, the natives, certain natives that know that their heritage were helped way back in the day to move on certain parts of the land, move away when lands got famished and the whole tribe needed to move, or other things. So I just want to let people know that the government knows this, and other people know it. People are waking up, and there's a lot of stories out there. So I appreciate your time. I don't want to take up everybody's time. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for calling it. All right. So it's been a wild night tonight. Make sure that you're subscribed to Bigfoot Society on the podcast platform that you like to listen to podcasts at. Put out tons of episodes. Make sure you're subscribed on the YouTube channel. Hit the bell icon to make sure that you get notifications. Share this with all your friends. We are on the road to going full time. It will happen. It will happen, guys. Also, if you'd like to go further with the show, if you'd like a members only episode, extra content every week, you can become a Patreon member over at patreon.com/the Bigfoot Society. You can also get extra episodes here on YouTube at becoming a YouTube channel member, and get a fun badge to kind of make you stand out in the chat. Just hit the join button. Just bring up the YouTube channel on a browser on your computer and hit the join button. Make sure you're subscribed. There's some cool stuff coming out. Appreciate you all. I will chat with you next time. Hope to see you back next week, Saturday night, 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, and some good podcasts coming your way. Have a good one. Please take a minute to help out the show by subscribing on YouTube, making sure you hit the bell so you don't miss any notifications, and share the episode on YouTube with a friend. Also, if you're listening to us on a podcast, thank you so much. Make sure that you're subscribed, share the show with a friend. Really, it's all about sharing the show wherever you can. If you've had a Bigfoot encounter related to the following or know someone who has, please reach out to me at bigfootsociety@gmail.com or pass on my email. Here's the list. All right, I'm going to use this space this week to announce that I'll be at the Sasquatch Summerfest in Oak Ridge, Oregon as an attender. I won't be presenting or anything, but I'll be hanging out, trying to interview people that have had Bigfoot encounters. If you're from the Oak Ridge, Oregon area or surrounding and you've had a Bigfoot experience, please contact me directly, bigfootsociety@gmail.com. Also, Priscilla was nice enough that if you get your tickets through SasquatchSummerfest.com and use code Bigfoot Society, you can get 50% off the cost of your tickets, which is a big amount. So code Bigfoot Society to get 50% off your tickets, SasquatchSummerfest.com, and helps out the podcast as well. A special thank you to all the Bigfoot Society Patreon and YouTube channel members. It's your support that helps keep the show going, and I extremely appreciate it. Here at Bigfoot Society, we're headed to the moon, and here's a current update about going full-time. So here we go. As of 5/22, we are now at 202 patrons out of 824 needed. That's 24.51%, almost a quarter of the way there, guys. Brings us down to 622 left to join the Patreon. So a huge thank you to Barbara, Gregory, Dana, Craig, Jeff, Steve, Ricky D, Norm, Megan, Dan, Daddy Chatty, Joe, Eber, Ike, Jules, Josh, Ryan, Todd, Nathan, Gabe, Bill, Lucky, Megan, William, Bobby Joe, and Inger for joining recently. If you want to join in the fun, you can join over at patreon.com/the Bigfoot Society. I'll see you there. And again, thanks for listening.
Her and I can get on here and we can tell our stories. Maybe there's somebody else out there listening that's too afraid to tell their story. Maybe this will give them the courage to come out and not feel so bad about it. Who cares what anybody thinks? I know what I saw. I know what's out there. That's all I care about.
Please let people know. Please let them know. If you ever see one of these things, you need to tell. Because if you don't, then shame on you. You know? Shame on you.
Wait, there's more. Monster Fest 2 is coming up soon in beautiful Canton, Ohio, and I will be there doing a live podcast. If you've ever wanted to meet Bigfoot Society in person, this is the year to do it. My special guest in the live podcast episode will be Justin from Cryptids of the Corn. You will not want to miss this live episode. And then you can hang out with me at Monster Fest. You can go to smalltownmonsters.com to get your tickets. Pre-sale tickets are $20.50, and tickets at the door will be $25. But kids 12 and under are free. How many places can you go to where kids 12 and under are free? Not many. New this year are the live workshops. I'm excited about this. Extremely excited. How to cast a footprint. How to collect DNA in the woods. Ghost hunting tools 101. How to do research. Also, There's going to be food trucks outside this year, and new guests, new speakers, people you won't. I mean, the coolest thing about last year is that I got to meet people I was not expecting to be there. People like Les Odell, John Hickenbottom, really cool Bigfoot people that I never would have thought that I would have met before. And Seth Breedlove made it happen by making this incredible place for the community to get together. Monster Fest in Canton, Ohio, June 28th through 29th. Guys, do not miss this year. If you missed last year, don't miss this year. Head on over right now to smalltownmonsters.com. I hope to see you there.